The air in the first-class cabin was cool and still, a sharp contrast to the blustery autumn weather beating against the fuselage outside. Sunlight, weak and diffused by heavy cloud cover over the northeast, cast long, silvery shadows across the plush, dark leather seats. Anya Sharma froze as the flight attendant towered over her, his voice cutting through the cabin noise with an almost military sharpness. "Miss, you need to move to the back. This seat is reserved for our preferred passengers." The elderly white woman behind him, Mrs. Eleanor Vance, smiled smugly, already moving to claim the vacated space. Anya's hands trembled as she clutched her first-class ticket. 20 years building Skyline Global Airlines from a regional carrier into a billion-dollar enterprise. And this was how they treated their chief innovation officer and co-founder. Anya, who had just stepped into the temporary role of CEO while her partner recovered from surgery, reached for her company ID. The attendant, a man named Mr. Gregory Thorne, snatched her carry-on, sending a small leather-bound box tumbling to the pristine white carpet. Inside, her grandfather's irreplaceable compass, the artifact that symbolized her journey, fell out, its glass cover shattering on impact. Before we continue this shocking story of discrimination and justice at $30,000 feet, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. If you believe in standing up against prejudice in all its forms, hit that like button and subscribe to see more powerful stories that expose the reality many face every day. Now, let's dive into how an ordinary flight became a battle for dignity that would change an entire airline forever. Anya Sharma slumped into the economy seat, ignoring the curious stares from other passengers. Her mind raced back to the journey that had led to this moment. Only $35 years old, she, an immigrant's daughter, had built Skyline Global from a dream into a national brand, utilizing the small inheritance from her grandfather's antique business to secure their first leased plane. She had defied every venture capitalist who had balked at funding a woman of color with a disruptive logistics model. Her parents had sacrificed everything for her education, working multiple shifts in the unforgiving New York City winter to send her to the prestigious MIT Sloan School of Management. The plane hit turbulence, jolting her back to the present. Mr. Gregory Thorne, the senior flight attendant who had humiliated her, now strutted through the cabin. At $45, with a meticulously trimmed mustache and a practiced, insincere smile, he carried himself with the confidence of someone with powerful connections. Anya had dismissed rumors of his close ties to certain board members as office gossip. Now she was reevaluating. Mrs. Eleanor Vance, the elderly woman who had demanded the seat, reclined in first class, sipping a bespoke cocktail that Gregory had rushed to provide. "Our most valued passenger deserves the best," his voice carried back to economy. "These seats are for passengers who belong here." The implication still stung. Anya had shown her ticket. Gregory had examined it with exaggerated skepticism. "There must be some mistake," he insisted. Other crew members gathered, all automatically assuming the woman of color was in the wrong. When she politely stood her ground, his tone hardened. "If you continue causing a disturbance, I'll have security remove you from this flight." The memory of what happened next, security personnel surrounding her, the humiliating public pat-down, the thorough search of her bag, her personal items displayed for curious onlookers, burned in her mind. And worst of all, her grandfather's compass, a symbol of her resilience, falling to the floor as Gregory carelessly rummaged through her belongings. Only Chief of Security, David Bell, had shown a flicker of recognition in his eyes when he finally saw her face. She had subtly shaken her head, a silent command he understood immediately. Anya maintained a low profile, regularly traveling incognito to monitor service firsthand. Today's experience had certainly been enlightening, though not in the way she had intended. A different flight attendant now stood beside her, professional but cold. "Would you like a beverage?" "Just water, please," Anya replied, pulling out her tablet. She began documenting everything, names, times, exact phrases. This wasn't about one uncomfortable flight or one damaged compass. This was about a systemic problem she would address methodically. As the plane began its descent, Anya mentally prepared for what came next. She wouldn't reveal herself immediately. The most effective justice often required careful planning. The wheels touched down with a jolt. Gregory Thorne personally escorted Mrs. Vance from the aircraft, carrying her bags and promising a car. Only when they had disappeared did Anya finally stand, collecting her damaged belongings. "Miss." David Bell approached cautiously. "I'm deeply sorry about earlier. If there's anything I can do—" "There will be," Anya responded quietly. "But not here. Not now." As she strode through the terminal, her phone buzzed with messages from Omar Khan, her loyal COO. Board members asking about the Asia deal. Mr. Sterling making noise again. "Need you ASAP." Skyline Global Airlines headquarters dominated the sunny, dry Los Angeles skyline, its sleek glass tower reflecting the harsh California light. Anya entered through a private door. Omar Khan waited in her office, pacing anxiously. "Thank God you're back," he said. "Things have been happening while you were gone. Concerning things." Anya placed her damaged carry-on on her desk. "I just experienced some concerning things myself on our airline. Look at this first." Omar handed her a tablet displaying customer complaint data. Complaints from minority passengers had increased 30% in the month she'd been traveling, and the resolution rate had dropped dramatically. "Mr. Robert Sterling has been making operational changes," Omar explained. Robert Sterling, $58 years, old Vice President of Operations, Old School Aviation, had opposed Anya's appointment from the start. He's implemented a new passenger comfort policy that gives crew discretion to move passengers based on what they're calling compatibility concerns. "There's more," Omar said grimly, pulling up another document. "I found this accidentally. Robert has been in talks with Air Zenith." Anya stared at the screen, reading exchanges between Robert and Walter Thorne, CEO of Air Zenith, a competitor notorious for its terrible diversity record. The messages discussed streamlining leadership and returning to traditional aviation values after the acquisition. "The security team?" Anya asked. "Partially replaced last week. New hires with connections to Air Zenith. The flight attendant who forced me to move today, Gregory Thorne, he's connected to board members. I need to know which ones." Anya sat heavily in her chair, mind racing. "This isn't coincidence. Contact everyone we absolutely trust. Small group, different departments. We meet off-site in 2 hours." Midnight found Anya and her core team relocating to their third safe house in 24 hours. "We need to stop running and start fighting back," Anya said, pinning maps and diagrams to a makeshift bulletin board. "I found a potential loophole in the share freeze," Isha reported. "The injunction references your personal shares, but doesn't account for the $10% held in your grandfather's family trust. If we document your status as trustee, we might regain enough voting power to block an immediate sale." "I've been reconstructing deleted files from our secure backups," Darius announced, wincing from his injuries. Robert was thorough, but not thorough enough. "I've recovered emails between him and Gregory discussing how to implement the passenger compatibility system without triggering anti-discrimination safeguards." Omar, who had publicly distanced himself from Anya but was still secretly providing critical information, called in via encrypted video. Carmen added, "I've found other minority employees who face discrimination. Many are scared, but some are willing to help." A knock on the door revealed Jackson Williams, a former Skyline pilot fired for reporting discrimination. "I'm in. Whatever you need," he declared. More allies emerged. Sophia Martinez, a current flight attendant who smuggled out internal communications proving the pattern of bias was widespread. Darius found evidence of Robert Sterling's connections to online extremist groups. This isn't just business, Anya realized. For Robert, this is ideological. He specifically can't stand that someone like me built it and runs it successfully. Then a massive blow. Carmen discovered the maintenance violations weren't just about cutting corners. They've been systematically neglecting safety inspections on aircraft primarily serving routes to predominantly minority communities. The next call was from Omar. "They're searching for you. Armed private security just raided my house. They've accelerated the timeline. The board vote and sale signing are both happening today." An unexpected ally reached out. Maya Stevens, a passenger who had witnessed Anya's mistreatment on the original flight. "I'm a civil rights attorney. What I saw on that plane was textbook discrimination. I want to help." Their planning session was interrupted when Darius's security system triggered an alert. "They found our location," he warned. What followed was a chaotic evacuation, the team splitting up. Anya and Maya fled, eventually finding refuge in a community center in the neighborhood where Anya had grown up. The director, Mrs. Coleman, ushered them into a back office. "Whatever trouble you're in, this place stands with you. We have less than 8 hours before the board meeting and sale signing. If Richard controls the media, the board, and physical access to company locations," Anya told the team, "we need to find pressure points he doesn't control." "There's one more potential ally," Darius said hesitantly. "Thomas Reynolds, the chief of security who recognized you on the plane. He might have insider information." Central Park hummed with typical Saturday morning activity. Anya sat alone on a bench near Bethesda Fountain, sunglasses hiding her eyes. The burner phone vibrated. Carousel. She walked unhurriedly toward the landmark. A man in a gray hoodie sidled up beside her. "Thomas Reynolds. I've been watching what they're doing to you," Thomas said, shame evident in his posture. "I told myself it was just business. Now I've seen them plant evidence, threaten families, cover up safety violations that could kill hundreds. There's a line and they've crossed it." Thomas pulled a small device from his pocket. "Everything. Robert's entire playbook. Messages between him and Walter Thorne planning to intentionally devalue Skyline. Accident reports that were falsified. Documentation of how they systematically harassed minority employees. Why didn't you come forward sooner?" Anya asked. "They have leverage over everyone close to them. My brother has a record." Robert implied it could be problematic for his parole. "But last week, they had me deliver a threat to a flight attendant's teenage daughter. A child. That's when I started copying files." Suddenly, Thomas stiffened. "Don't react." Southeast entrance. Security team. 2 men in plain clothes. "The most damning evidence is in a folder labeled Project Phoenix," Thomas warned. Robert and Thorne recorded their meetings planning to clean house. Thorne specifically talked about targeting routes serving minority communities. "You need to—" He cut off as the men spotted them. "Run," Thomas urged. "I'll stall them." Thomas confronted the security personnel, loudly accusing them of harassment. As attention focused on the disturbance, Anya slipped away toward a service exit, where Maya waited in a maintenance uniform. Then, the sickening sound. Gunshots cracked the morning air. Security firing at Thomas as he broke free and ran. Hours later, safely back at the community center, the team watched the news in stunned silence. Thomas Reynolds had been hospitalized with gunshot wounds. The official story claimed he had attacked security officers after being identified as a corporate espionage suspect. A coerced statement attributed to Thomas renounced all his claims. "They got to him at the hospital," Aisha said grimly. Darius had been examining the device Thomas provided. "Some of the files are corrupted. The Project Phoenix folder is currently inaccessible." Anya made the final, desperate decision. "We need to move now, even with incomplete information." Maya confirmed their plan. An emergency injunction filed directly in court. The Manhattan courthouse loomed imposingly. Inside, Judge Harrison Blackwood, known to have connections to Robert Sterling, surveyed the courtroom with obvious impatience. For the next hour, the pattern was clear. Every piece of evidence presented by Anya's team, from the suspicious timing of complaints to the partial records recovered from Thomas's device, was minimized or dismissed on procedural grounds. When Maya played her carefully planned card, introducing the records provided by Thomas Reynolds, the judge appeared genuinely interested for the first time, but the hope was short-lived. Judge Blackwood looked up with a carefully neutral expression. "This court finds insufficient evidence to lift the temporary share freeze. Furthermore, given the urgency of Skyline's business needs, I am approving the expedited vote on company sale as requested by the board. The restraining order keeping Ms. Sharma from company premises is extended." The gavel fell with devastating finality. "The system is rigged," Jackson said bitterly that evening. "They control the media, the courts, even physical access to buildings. What's left?" Anya stared at the blueprint of Air Zenith headquarters that Darius had obtained. "They've blocked every legitimate avenue, so we stop playing by their rules. If we can't stop the signing legally, we need to be physically present when it happens. You're talking about infiltrating one of the most secure corporate buildings in the city, Carmen warned. Exactly, Anya confirmed. Tomorrow, we bring the truth directly to the people who need to hear it. No intermediaries, no legal barriers, no media filters. Pre-dawn fog shrouded Air Zenith headquarters, a luxury resort chosen for its exclusivity. The sale signing was set for 10 a.m. Final equipment check, Sofia Martinez said, distributing authentic-looking hotel staff uniforms. Remember, service staff are meant to be invisible. Keep your eyes down. Carmen created the initial diversion, arriving at the service entrance in a maintenance van. HVAC emergency call, she explained to the guard. Darius, guiding her via earpiece, instructed her to connect his bypass module to the central security panel. Main security panel is on the east wall. Darius's voice crackled. You'll have approximately 7 minutes before their failsafe protocols detect the intrusion. Carmen worked quickly, fingers steady despite the pressure. Module connected, proceeding to Phase 2. With Darius now controlling key security systems, Anya and Aisha approached the staff entrance in catering uniforms, pushing a cart loaded with breakfast pastries. Their falsified IDs passed the initial scan. Southeast corridor clear. Darius's voice came through their earpieces. 3 security personnel in the main kitchen. Avoid if possible. A tense moment came when Gregory Thorne appeared unexpectedly. Anya quickly lowered her face, adjusting her cap. He paused, a flicker of suspicion crossing his features before a senior executive called his name, pulling his attention away. As they neared the executive wing, they were blocked by biometric scanners. We need an alternative route, Anya murmured. Service elevator to the 3rd floor. Then through the executive suite, Darius returned. Robert Sterling reserved the presidential suite for preparation before the meeting. The elevator deposited them on the 3rd floor. Wait, Darius warned suddenly. Robert's inside with someone. Connecting to room audio. Through their earpieces came Robert Sterling's smug, unguarded voice. Thorne agreed to the final price reduction last night. $30% below market value, with guaranteed positions for our key people. Once we sign, the first order of business will be dismantling her diversity initiatives. Back to a proper airline. The second voice was Walter Thorne, CEO of Air Zenith. The board doesn't need to know about our private arrangement. This was explicit confirmation of the fraud. They slipped into an unoccupied suite nearby and found documents spread across a desk, including the final acquisition agreement. Anya quickly photographed key pages while Aisha stood watch. Immediate termination rights for redundant executive positions without standard severance, Aisha confirmed. That would target your entire leadership team. More disturbing was a folder labeled Enhanced Security Protocols, recording devices and documentation of surveillance on board members who had expressed reservations about the sale. Their discovery was interrupted. They barely managed to slip out through a connecting bathroom before Robert and Walter entered, continuing their confidential conversation. Security alert in progress, Darius warned suddenly. They've detected my access to their systems. They're locking down the resort main entrance already secured. You need to move now, Carmen's voice cut in urgently. Board meeting started early, Darius reported, alarm evident in his voice. They moved up the schedule. Voting happening now. This unexpected acceleration forced their hand. Their disguise is useless against the final armed checkpoint, Anya instructed. Distraction required at the north entrance. Carmen instantly triggered a fire alarm. In the confusion, Anya and Aisha slipped through a service entrance, emerging near the main conference room. The vote stands at 7 in favor, 2 abstaining, Robert was saying. The motion to approve the acquisition by Air Zenith passes. We'll proceed immediately to the signing ceremony. They were too late. The vote had happened. As security alerts blared throughout the building, Anya realized their carefully constructed plan had failed. The only option remaining was direct, desperate confrontation. Outside, Jackson Williams had activated his alliance. Maya Stevens reported via encrypted call that the perimeter security had tripled. But approaching the resort were dozens of vehicles carrying the alliance, employees, former passengers, civil rights groups, and safety advocates. News helicopters circled overhead. Inside the conference room, Robert Harrington was distributing signing documents when Anya stepped confidently into the room with Aisha beside her. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board," she announced, "I believe you're about to make a catastrophic mistake." "Security!" Robert shouted, his face contorted with rage. "They're rather busy at the moment," Anya replied calmly. "I suggest you all look outside before signing anything." Walter Thorne pulled back a curtain. His expression shifted to alarm as he saw the growing crowd assembling at the resort gates. "This," Anya answered, "is what happens when you try to steal a company built on diversity. Mr. Thorne, those people represent everyone you and Robert plan to harm." Aisha distributed copies of the photographed documents. The true sale price 30% below market value, Robert's undisclosed personal compensation, and the surveillance reports he authorized against dissenting board members. The boardroom erupted in angry exclamations. "The vote has been taken," Robert attempted, voice strained. "Under false pretenses," Anya countered. "Any competent court would invalidate such a vote immediately." Just then, the conference room doors burst open again. Security personnel entered, but their leader addressed the board. "Mr. Harrington, we have a situation requiring your immediate attention. Federal agents have arrived with warrants." Walter Thorne immediately suspended acquisition proceedings. Robert's takeover was disintegrating. "You can't back out now. We had an agreement. The diversification of aviation must be stopped. These people don't belong in our industry." Robert's naked prejudice, spoken loudly enough for everyone to hear, silenced the room. Thorne pulled away. "I think we're done here, Robert." As federal agents entered, Robert faced Anya one last time. "You think you've won? I still have connections." "What you don't have," Anya replied calmly, "is my airline, and you never will." The following week, with her controlling shares reinstated, Anya called for an extraordinary board meeting. It was completely transparent, with employees and media present. "This meeting is invalid," Robert announced. "Those injunctions were denied this morning," Aisha replied calmly. Anya presented a comprehensive review of the takeover attempt. Carmen presented maintenance records showing systematic neglect of aircraft serving minority communities. The meeting reached its pivot point when Anya introduced her final witness. Thomas Reynolds entered in a wheelchair, determined to testify. In measured tones, he detailed Robert's shadow security operation and explicit instructions to remove undesirable elements from premium cabins. "This is absurd. Sterling understands the airline business has traditions, standards. Certain passengers expect a particular atmosphere in premium cabins. That's not discrimination, it's customer service." Robert's final desperate outburst, captured for posterity, sealed his fate. The remaining board members voted unanimously for a motion of no confidence. Robert was escorted out, his ranting about people like her not belonging audible to everyone. 3 months later, Anya stood before the assembled employees in the company's largest hangar. Today marks a recommitment to the values that founded it. The Gloria Johnson Scholarship Program was launched, named for her grandfather. Thomas Reynolds now led a reform security department focused on dignity. Carmen was head of operations. The alliance that saved Skyline had evolved into a permanent part of its structure. Later that afternoon, Anya boarded a Skyline Global Airlines flight. Settling into a first-class seat, a new flight attendant welcomed her.
"First time flying with us?"
"No," Anya replied. "I've been with Horizon since the beginning." As the aircraft leveled at cruising altitude, Anya closed her eyes, hearing her grandfather's voice in memory. "Fly higher than they say you can." The words that had inspired a young woman to build an airline now inspired an industry to become more just, more inclusive, more reflective of the diverse world it served. Sky-high justice indeed. Sky-high justice teaches us that fighting discrimination requires more than individual courage. It demands systematic vigilance and collective action. Anya's story reminds us that prejudice often hides behind corporate policies dressed in the language of customer comfort or traditional values. We learned that true leadership means experiencing your organization at every level, seeing problems firsthand rather than remaining isolated in executive suites. What moment in this story resonated most deeply with you? Was it Anya's humiliation on her own plane, the discovery of systematic safety violations, or the final triumph of the alliance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Drop a like if this story inspired you to consider how you might speak up next time. If you believe in creating spaces where everyone is treated with dignity, regardless of their background, subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that expose injustice and celebrate those who fight against it. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and may you find the courage to create your own sky-high justice when facing inequality in your life.